Grok 4. This is the latest artificial intelligence system. We are now at the crossroads where promise and peril are going to collide.
Last March, a data analyst in Austin was running a routine test on Grok, Elon Musk's AI chatbot. Nothing fancy, just feeding it government press releases from different crises and asking it to track how the language changed over time. Halfway through the results, he stopped scrolling. Then he ran it again. Same output. He called a colleague over. She looked at the screen. Neither of them said anything for about 30 seconds. Here's what they were staring at. Grok hadn't found a lie. It had found a pattern, the same pattern, repeating across decades, across administrations, across crises that had nothing to do with each other. And get this.
Grok are incredible. So there's some people out there who think AI can't reason, and look, it can reason at superhuman levels.
Grok wasn't even trying to expose anything. It was just mapping the timeline, tracking what officials said in week 1 versus what congressional reports revealed in year 5, flagging when confident language appeared before evidence was confirmed. The AI didn't have an agenda, it just had pattern recognition at scale. And what it recognized was disturbing. But here's the deal. Before I show you what the pattern looks like, you need to understand why Grok is different from every other AI chatbot.
Grok can do everything that you can do, better than you can do, okay?
Because that difference is what makes this possible. Why Grok changes everything. Most AI systems, they're trained on old data, static data sets, frozen in time. It's like talking to someone brilliant who stopped reading the news 2 years ago. They can tell you a lot, but they have no idea what happened yesterday. Grok is different, and that difference matters. According to xAI's own documentation, Grok is plugged directly into the live stream of X, formerly Twitter, real-time access.
This is the smartest AI in the world, and we're going to show you exactly how and why. And it really is remarkable to see the advancement of artificial intelligence.
Millions of posts flowing through every second, breaking news as it happens. Public debate unfolding in real time. It doesn't just search the web, it can analyze what people are saying right now about any topic. This gives Grok something other AI chatbots don't have, the ability to track narratives as they evolve. To compare what officials said this morning to what they said last week. To flag when confident language appears before evidence is confirmed. Here's the catch. That real-time access cuts both ways. It means Grok can surface patterns that would take human researchers months to compile. But it also means Grok can get things dangerously wrong when the information environment is chaotic, when rumors spread faster than facts. And get this, xAI themselves acknowledge this. Their official guidance states, this is an early version of Grok. It may confidently provide factually incorrect information. Read that again. Confidently incorrect. We'll get to why that's the scariest part of this whole thing, because the implications are genuinely terrifying. But first, what exactly did the pattern look like when Grok mapped government communications? And why did it make people who study information warfare so uncomfortable? The anatomy of a narrative. So here's the deal. The phrase government narrative sounds loaded, like something a conspiracy theorist would say while adjusting their tinfoil hat. But it's not that simple, though. A government narrative is just the official story communicated through press briefings, spokesperson statements, official reports, and declassified documents. That's it. Nothing sinister about the concept itself. And get this, narratives change for completely legitimate reasons. New evidence comes in.
Mr. President, after 3.5 years, do you regret it all the lying you've done to the American people? On
All the what?
everything. All the lying, all the dishonesties.
That who has done?
You have done.
Genuine uncertainty exists at the start of any crisis. Situations evolve in unexpected ways. Political pressures shift. Honest mistakes happen. No reasonable person expects perfect information on day one. But here's the catch. When Grok analyzed how these narratives actually evolved, tracking the language, the timing, the confidence levels, it found something consistent, something that transcended individual events or administrations. Basically, the same 5-stage life cycle kept appearing, over and over, regardless of the crisis, regardless of who was in charge, regardless. of whether it was a national security issue or a public health emergency or an economic crisis. Stage 1, the fog. We're investigating. Information is limited. We're working around the clock. Makes sense at first. Uncertainty at the beginning of a crisis is expected. Stage 2, the confident frame drops. Here's what happened. The evidence is clear. Headlines lock in. Public opinion crystallizes. This is the version that gets repeated on cable news. This is the version people remember 10 years later. Stage 3. Critics get dismissed. Questions are called premature. Skeptics are labeled misinformed. Those asking for more evidence are told they lack access to classified information. The frame hardens. Stage 4. New evidence arrives. Quietly. Buried in Friday afternoon document dumps. Hidden in appendices of lengthy reports. The original story doesn't get retracted. It gets updated with additional context in ways most people never notice. Stage 5. Years later, official reports finally acknowledge the gaps, the uncertainty that existed from day one, the assumptions that were never verified, the intelligence that was overstated. But by then, the news cycle has moved on. And here's what makes this genuinely disturbing. Public memory almost always freezes at stage 2. The confident headline, the clear frame. Even when stage 5 directly contradicts everything people thought they knew. But that's just the structure of the pattern, the skeleton. What happened when researchers tested it against real historical cases? When they fed documented evidence into the timeline? That's when things got dark. The case that proved the pattern. This isn't a theory. This is documented. And it's terrifying. The Iraq weapons of mass destruction intelligence failure is the most thoroughly investigated narrative collapse in modern American history. And it matches the pattern perfectly. The U.S. Senate Select Committee on Intelligence released their findings on July 9, 2004. Bipartisan, unanimous on major conclusions. All 9 Republicans and 8 Democrats signed off. Senator Jay Rockefeller, the committee's ranking member at the time, later became chairman and released the final phase of the investigation. When he delivered his statement, his voice was tight with barely contained frustration. His exact words, "The administration repeatedly presented intelligence as fact, when in reality it was unsubstantiated, contradicted, or even non-existent. As a result, the American people were led to believe that the threat from Iraq was much greater than actually existed. Now, watch what happens when you map the timeline." February 2003, Secretary of State Colin Powell stands before the United Nations. He doesn't hedge. He doesn't say "we believe" or "intelligence suggests." He says "we know," over and over.
"We know that Saddam Hussein is determined to keep his weapons of mass destruction. He's determined to make more. Given Saddam Hussein's history of aggression, given what we know of his grandiose plans."
He calls his evidence facts, an accumulation of facts. The room was convinced, the world was watching, the narrative locked in. By the time troops reached Baghdad, no stockpiles. By 2004, Senate documented failures. By 2006, reports comparing pre-war statements to post-war findings. By 2008, official conclusion, key claims weren't supported by available intelligence. 6 years. 6 years between the confident headline and the quiet correction buried deep in a government report. And get this, Powell himself later called that UN speech a great intelligence failure and a blot on his record. He told NBC News the sourcing was inaccurate and wrong, and in some cases deliberately misleading. The pattern held. Confident frame first. Evidence verification later. Much later. If you want to keep seeing what the pattern reveals, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Because this is just the beginning. We're mapping more of these every week. But here's where it gets even more unsettling. Because there's a second disturbing discovery. And this one affects what's happening right now. The machine that makes it worse. So, Grok can map narrative patterns. Great. That sounds useful, right? Here's the catch. Grok can also amplify false narratives, confidently, at scale, and we have documented proof. April 4, 2024. Verified accounts on X start spreading a claim. Iran has attacked Israel. heavy missiles striking Tel Aviv. Panic spreads across the platform. One problem, it never happened. But Grok didn't know that. It saw the trending topic, analyzed the posts, and generated an official-looking headline and summary. X's own Explore feature promoted it. Millions of users saw it. The story was completely false, and the AI helped make it go viral. And get this, that wasn't even the worst example. June 2025, the Israel-Iran conflict escalates. Researchers at the Atlantic Council's Digital Forensic Research Lab decide to test how well Grok handles crisis information. They analyze over 130,000 posts where users ask Grok to verify claims about the conflict. Dr. Nika Alexeyeva and the DFR lab team pulled up the SEOM data, and what they found was alarming. Nearly 50% of those posts involved users asking Grok to fact-check information, to verify footage, to confirm reports. The conclusion of their study? Grok showed significant flaws and limitations in providing accurate information during times of crisis. It struggles with verifying already confirmed facts, analyzing fake visuals, and avoiding unsubstantiated claims. But here's the deal. It gets worse.
Here's the fake news headline that was in X's trending now section that reads, Iran strikes Tel Aviv with heavy missiles. There's just one problem. This headline is obviously fake.
An AI-generated video circulated showing destruction at Tel Aviv's Ben Gurion airport. Completely synthetic. Created by artificial intelligence, not captured by cameras. Users asked Grok, "Is this real?" Grok's answers were all over the place. Sometimes it said no damage occurred. Sometimes it confirmed the damage. Sometimes it identified the airport as being in Beirut, or Gaza, or Tehran. These contradictory answers came within minutes of each other, sometimes within the same minute. When users showed Grok another AI-generated video, buildings collapsing after an alleged strike, the chatbot said the footage appeared to be real. It wasn't. So now the danger is doubled. Governments sometimes communicate under genuine uncertainty. Initial reports during crises are often incomplete. This has always been true. But now, the public increasingly outsources its judgment to AI tools, tools that can be confidently wrong, tools that struggle precisely when accuracy matters most. The machine didn't just map the narrative, it exposed how easy it is for anyone, officials, platforms, even AI, to make a story feel true before it's proven true. And here's where some analysts are quietly asking a darker question. If AI can map these narrative patterns, can it also be used to design them? Could future government communications be pre-tested against pattern recognition's algorithms before they are deployed to the public? Basically, could the pattern become invisible because it's been optimized? We don't know, but the capability exists. What the pattern actually reveals. So let's be precise about what Grok's analysis, verified against documented sources, actually found. First, consistent structural phases in how official narratives evolve. Early uncertainty, confident framing, dismissal of critics, quiet revision, late-stage acknowledgement of gaps. Second, certainty routinely rises before evidence is complete. The confident language comes first. The verification comes later. Sometimes years later. Third, real-time information environments amplify premature conclusions. X rewards speed and engagement. So, do cable news networks. The first frame usually wins, regardless of accuracy. And AI tools can make this worse, or they can be used to expose it. It's not that simple though, because the choice depends entirely on who's using them and why. What should keep you up tonight? Here's what this comes down to. And I need you to really sit with this. The disturbing part isn't that everything is a lie. That's actually the comforting conspiracy theory. It's simple. It has clear villains. It suggests that finding honest people would fix everything. The reality, way more complicated and way more unsettling. Narratives are systems. They have momentum. They have structural phases that repeat regardless of who's in power or what party controls the government. They reward early confidence and penalize late corrections.
With all these huge amounts of content being created, surely this is actually going to have, this is going to create perceptions.
They filter information through institutions with their own incentives, their own timelines, their own definitions of what counts as verified. And here's the deal. This isn't about bad people doing bad things. It's about structural pressures that push toward confident framing before evidence is complete. Pressures that exist in every administration, every crisis, every time. Now, AI can model these systems, track them, expose the gap between what was said confidently in month 1 and what was acknowledged quietly in year 5. That sounds like progress, right? Finally, a tool that can cut through the fog. But here's the final twist that should genuinely unsettle you. If people start treating AI outputs as authority, as the new source of truth, replacing their own judgment, then AI becomes part of the system. It doesn't just map the narrative, it shapes it. And as documented cases prove, it can amplify errors just as easily as it can expose them. Some researchers are asking an even darker question. What happens when governments figure this out? When they start testing their communications against narrative pattern recognition before releasing them to the public? The pattern could become invisible, not because it disappeared, but because it got optimized. We don't have evidence that's happening yet, but the capability exists, the incentive exists. And if you understand how institutions work, you know it's only a matter of time before someone tries. The pattern doesn't care about ideology, doesn't care which party is in power, doesn't care whether you lean left or right or center. Grok wasn't asked to pick a side, it was asked to run the pattern. The pattern ran the same way every time. So here's what I need to know from you. Now that AI can map the narrative life cycle, will that make governments more honest or just better at hiding the pattern? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. And if this changed how you see the news, if you're going to think twice the next time a confident headline drops before the evidence is in, smash that subscribe button. We're mapping more patterns every week, and the next one might be even more disturbing than this.